All right, can you state your full name and spell it out for me?
My name is Joe Biden, Joe Biden.
All right, Mr. Biden, how long have you been in the city?
Uh, I was here last year for probably about maybe 6 months to a year, and I just came back this week.
All right, Mr. Biden, can you tell us something about yourself?
Hello there. My name is Biden, Joe Biden. Um, I'm a huge member of the community, or at least I used to be. I I enjoy helping others. I enjoy spending quality time with the people of the community, and doing all that I can to help those that need help. Really, I feel like that sums me up to put it shortly and briefly.
All right, what makes you a standout candidate for the LEO Academy compared to other applicants?
I feel my experience as I have had a cousin that has, told me about his experiences and kind of trained me in a sense to be ready and prepared for the academy. His name was Young Bull. He served under Winchester, Ben Prescott, Lenny, if you're familiar with any of those people. And I just feel that my experience really speaks for itself. I've been a member of this community for a while now. I'm familiar with the folks, although I have just come back, I'm still getting familiar with some new people. As I can see, it's a new whole wave of people that have come in, but for the most part, I feel I'm still, you know, making my way through, making a name for myself within the community.
Okay. Do you have a gang cousin? If so, brother, this won't affect anything. The only thing it will affect is you will not be any command if you do have a gang cousin.
I do not.
Okay. So why do you want to become an LEO officer? Be as detailed as possible as you can be on this.
All right. So I truly do have an affinity to helping others. It's just something in me that is integral to who I am. Since a young age, I've just always wanted to help people in any way I really could. And seeing as the gang presence in the city has risen and crime has risen, it's just I feel it's my calling to come and help the city as much as I possibly can, especially being such a I'm obviously not an integral part of the city, but just being someone that loves the city as much as I do, I just feel that this is my calling. This is what I'm here to do.
Okay. So do you have any previous experience as a law enforcement officer? And if you do not, tell us about your previous experience and how you're able to transition into the
I had a cousin that was, but Joe Biden has not. However, my cousin has informed me of what all goes into this, and um, how do I put this? Let's see. I haven't necessarily worked anywhere. I worked as a mechanic for a little while back in the day. And I mean, I learned to be punctual. I learned to listen to commands and be disciplined with it all. You know what I mean? Profe- uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, to display myself in a professional manner and perform my duties in a professional manner as well. And I feel that I could really bring that over to the PD.
Okay. So, which department would you like to join if you become an officer? Would you like BCSO or LSP?
Um, I think I may try BCSO. I think I'd like to try that.
Okay. So, how would you handle a situation where you witness a fellow recruit or officer engaging in unethical behavior?
I'd simply make sure my body cam was running. Uh, then ship that off to whoever the high or the I'd follow the chain of command basically. Send that up to one of my superiors.
Okay. So, what are your expectations for the academy training, and how do you plan to handle the physical and mental challenges of this program?
I hope that it'll be extensive and be in detailed, which I'm assuming it is. But um, I feel that spending as much time as I did coming from the background that Joe Biden comes from, gang banging and whatnot, that just hardened me as a person, and that now that I've transitioned into a different path in life, that I can bring that mental solitude and strength into this academy and ensure that I get through it all without any worry.
Okay. Do you know how do you stay informed about the SOPs?
I'm sorry.
How do you stay informed about the SOPs?
I'm sure they're in the emails.
Yeah.
Is that what you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The standard operating procedures. Okay. So effective communication is essential in law enforcement. Can you share a time when you had to de-escalate a tense situation, and how did you approach it?
As a former gang member, we'd get into conflicts with other gangs quite often, and while don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed some of it, there were times for diplomacy, and I did have to step up to that role where I had to, de-escalate certain situations in which a shootout could have occurred and I could have lost my life. I've been in several situations like that where I've had to step up, and I tried to level with everybody. I try to be grounded on earth and a grounded individual that can understand where each person's coming from on both sides, and just do my best to be understanding.
Okay. How would you deal with a situation where a friend or family member is involved in a crime?
If they broke the law, they broke the law. It just is what it is. Just know that no one's above the law.
Absolutely. So police work requires teamwork. Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully worked with a team to achieve a goal?
I hate to bring this up yet again, but being a gang member, you have to learn to communicate and work as a team. Um, and I mean, we could we executed several what you may call operations that went successfully due to our communication and teamwork. I've been an integral part of several gangs, which may not sound that great. However, when it comes to actual the skills of teamwork and working as a team, communicating properly, I feel that those they are so what I'm looking for. They can be transferred over. Um, so
Okay. So do you know what are team codes and what they're used for? And if you know any, can you list some examples?
it's been a while. I'm not too familiar with any. Maybe 10-4 and 10-20, just being 10-20 being the location, and 10-4 being understood, affirmative slash okay. That's about it.
Okay. So describe a challenging situation. Oh, sorry. So describe a challenging situation you faced in the past and how you handled it. How do you think the experience will help you as a police officer?
You know, this takes me back. This really does take me back. Back in the day, I grew up in a very gang. What's what I'm looking for? There were a lot of gangs active where I grew up. Joe
Mm-hmm.
Biden coming from concrete, South Concrete, where SSG is to be, that's where they are. I had to grow up and see a lot of things that went down. Um, Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. What was the question again?
No, that's a good answer. So how do you think? How do you describe a challenging situation you faced in the past and how you handled it, and how do you think the experience will help you as a police officer? It's like any challenging.
Hello?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Describe the question was describe a challenging situation you faced in the past and how you handled it, and how do you think the experience will help you as a police officer?
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. You know, as I was saying, coming from an impoverished area, a gang-ridden area, um, I had to overcome the challenge of life. Whether it was because a certain path was destined for me at a young age. I was destined to be a gang member. However, I overcame that obstacle of being a little different than everybody else. Being the black sheep, if you would. And that came with a lot of ridicule. A lot of hate, a lot of just a lot of hate. You know what I mean? And so I feel that if I can overcome, you know, a gang ridden area and growing up with gang members around me, I feel that I could overcome anything, really.
Okay. So how do you think law enforcement could build a stronger relationship with the community it serves?
I think, honestly, if y'all would come and play paintball with us, or y'all would come and just hang out at the strip where, a lot of people tend to be just for a little moment. I know that y'all are busy, but if y'all just would come out there and, spend some time with us, because don't get me wrong, I've only been here so long as I've came back, but I haven't seen many police officers there apart from when, active scenes do occur.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I don't really see y'all. You know what I mean? So maybe just
Yeah.
making the presence a little more
Presence
there.
awareness, police interaction. Okay. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. Play a game of paintball with us, go bowling with us. have some food with us, whatever it may be. Just make the presence known.
Okay, good answer, brother. So, how do you handle feedback or constructive criticism? And can you give an example of a time when you received constructive feedback and how you acted on it?
I feel I take feedback well. You know, Joe Biden had a history of working in the music industry. You know, I was recording under EJ Martinez for a little while, and I did receive some feedback and critiques that I maybe wasn't looking to hear, but I still feel I received it well. You know, I take it as it is, and I just keep it pushing. You know, can't just sit there and think on it for too long. Just got to take it as it is and move forward.
Okay, these are going to be a few scenario-based questions. How would you handle a call involving a domestic uh, dispute where both parties are emotionally charged?
I would first ask for backup, depending on how many individuals there are. I'm assuming there's only two, but just to be sure, you know, I'd ask for some backup, just to help me de-escalate and, you know, probably suppress a crowd if there is any nearby. And then I'd try to hear both sides of the story, bring them apart from one another, and kind of hear what they got going on, what they think happened. In which case, I'll come to my conclusion and, you know, based off of that, move how I see fit.
Okay, you stop a car for a minor infraction, but the driver becomes hostile. How do you manage the situation?
I'm sorry, you said what?
So say you, sorry. So say you pull over a car, you stop a car for a minor infraction, and but the driver becomes hostile. How do you handle that situation?
I try to use my de-escalation skills to kind of calm down verbally, you know, speak to him, just try to tell him like, hey, you know, it's just a minor infraction. I'm not taking you to jail. Hopefully, at least, depending on what it is. But I just try to, you know, reason with him, you know, be the voice of reason, be logical with him, you know, kind of explain to him, hey, you know, we can take things slow, go the easy path, and I can let you go, and it'll just be what it is. Or we could go down this other path and kind of, you know, present that to him, kind of play the tape for him, just in case, you know, he may not be thinking all the way there at the moment. And I'd really just try to de-escalate, you know, speak to him, reason with him, you know.
Okay, so while patrolling, you witness a minor traffic violation, right? But
Okay.
you initiate. Okay, let me start over. So while patrolling, you witness a minor traffic violation. But as you initiate a stop, a higher priority call comes over the radio. How would you prioritize your actions?
I guess depending on the importance and, you know, what all the call is, I may just have to leave it as it is and just head to the more important call, or at least pull him over, tell him, hey, this is why I'm pulling you over. I'm giving you a warning, and then just go to the higher importancy call.
Okay, so say you arrive at a scene where two people are arguing loudly. How would you approach de-escalating them?
I'd again, I'd probably ask for backup, just in case. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
All right, my eyes kind of messed up. I may have to fly in again here in a second. But call for backup, of course. Depending on, yeah, I'd probably still call for backup just to be safe. But um, I'd grab each of them, try to separate them just for a moment, hear both sides of the story. You know, try to reason and de-escalate. With, just trying to be the voice of reason, letting them know that hey, shit, you know what I mean? Y'all can do what you want to do while I'm here, and that'll lead to certain consequences. You know what I mean? Um, but shit, sorry, got a little sidetracked, but yeah, got a text for a moment.
Okay, so how would you handle a situation where you have to arrest someone you personally know?
Risk someone?
Yeah, say, oh,
Oh my goodness!
damn it.
All good, all good.
Okay, no, sorry about that. No, what I was saying. So, how would you handle a situation where you have to arrest someone you personally know?
I mean, for the most part, I'd probably crack some jokes with them, but just, there's nobody's above the law, regardless of if I know them, how close I am with them, the law's the law. And if they break the law, then they have to pay the consequences for, whatever it may be.
Okay, perfect. So, what are your long-term goals within law enforcement? Are there any specific areas, special or any specialties you're interested in, such as canine, SWAT, anything like that?
I think I'd be a great fit for SWAT, to be honest. I'm not sure on how y'all work it out. If you have to be at a certain rank to be eligible to, try out for SWAT. But I mean, I feel like off the rip, just I'd be a great candidate even as a cadet. Um, but my goals would probably be to work up the ladder and hopefully become a member of the high command, and just stay here long term. Really, I have long term goals. I'd like to stay here for a while, you know, um, leave my print on the police department.
Okay. Yeah. So, being on SWAT or anything like that, it just takes, and that's pretty simple to do as long as you put in the work.
Okay.
So, okay, these are going to be some questions just that you understand this, right? So, if you're found working with a gang or affiliated with, you will be terminated immediately and face prosecution. You understand that?
Yes.
Do you understand that employment as LEO is at will, and you will be removed at any time? You could be removed at any time without prior notice.
Yes.